Beloved children, listen carefully, for what I am about to share carries the weight of heaven itself. When I stood on the balcony of St. Peter's, I carried with me one word, a word that would shake nations, unsettle the proud, and pierce even the most faithful with dread. As I gazed upon the sea of faces, mothers clutching their children, fathers gripping their rosaries, youths waving their banners, and journalists circling with their cameras, I felt the heavy burden of eternity resting upon my lips. And when I spoke, I resigned. The moment those words left my mouth, a profound silence fell over the crowd. The weight of it was heavier than stone. Thousands froze. Some covered their faces with trembling hands. Some gasped as if struck by a sword, while others fell to their knees, whispering prayers through their tears. I saw a woman clutching her crucifix, crying out, "Holy Father, do not leave us." A young pilgrim collapsed on the ground, his rosary scattering across the cobblestones. The cardinals behind me stiffened, their whispers sharp, cutting through the air like daggers. What had been a square filled with hymns and joy just moments before became a trembling sea of confusion. Behind me, I could feel the murmurs of my brothers. One hissed, "He has betrayed the chair of Peter." Another muttered, "He will plunge the church into chaos." Their scarlet robes rustled like fire, their faces drawn in fear. Yes, I heard them. I saw the storm rising in their eyes. But, beloved, I tell you, their fear was not greater than the Spirit. For too long men have clung to safety, mistaking it for faith. They have confused order with obedience, silence with holiness, and comfort with truth. But I tell you, faith is not neat and tidy. Faith is fire. Faith is a storm. Faith shakes what is false so that what is true may remain. And when I resigned, I didn't cast aside the papacy. I cast aside fear. I cast aside silence. I cast aside the chains that bound God's living. Word to pages, polished by men. Do you not remember the scriptures? Hebrews 12:26 declares, "Once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens." That shaking has begun. Beloved, the Vatican trembles. The cardinals whisper in dread. The journalists write their frantic headlines. The nations murmur. The Pope has abandoned his flock. The Church has collapsed. Rome has fallen into crisis. But I tell you, beloved, this is not a collapse. It is an unveiling. Only what is false can fall. Only what is of man will crumble. What is of Christ shall endure. So now I ask you, children, what is shaking in your life tonight? Is it your home, your family, your faith? Do not hide it in silence. Write it beneath these words as testimony that others may see and pray. For when you confess what shakes, you also declare what cannot be shaken, the rock who is Christ. Let faith be named from every city and every land, so that heaven may see the flame rising across the earth. I saw your tears mingle with the rain. Pilgrims clutched one another in confusion. Yet, even in your trembling, I felt the Spirit moving. And so I spoke again. Beloved, I resign from the safety of scripted lies. I resign from the counsel of voices that polish truth until it dies. I resign from speeches weighed by men who fear scandal more than silence. I will speak to you as Christ speaks, with fire, with mercy, with words unguarded yet alive. Do you understand? I have not resigned from Christ's church. I have resigned from chains that were never his. I have not resigned from the papacy. I resign from the page. From this day forward, no script will bind me. No committee will tame the spirit. I will not speak with papers between my hands. I will speak what God gives, trembling but alive. Yes, I may stumble. Yes, I may falter. But I would rather falter in the spirit than stand flawless in the flesh. I know well the words that will rise against me. Already, the journalists sharpen their pens. Already, the powers of the world murmur. The Pope has abandoned his throne. The Vatican is in ruins. But, beloved, what they call ruin is the birth of renewal. What they call collapse is the sound of chains breaking. For unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. John 12:24. Tonight, the seed of fear has fallen. Now the harvest of faith begins. Children of God, if this word pierces your soul, let your testimony be written beneath it. Declare with faith, I will not fear when the church is shaken, for Christ is my rock. Let every nation bear witness. Tell me from where you joined this vigil, and let faith be named from every city and every land, so that heaven may see the flame rising across the earth. As your shepherd, I lift my hand in blessing. May your hearts remain unshaken. May your homes be guarded by faith. May the Spirit who raised Christ from the dead awaken you in this very hour. Do not fear the thunder. Do not fear the shaking, for Christ is in the boat, though the waves roar. But hear me well. Do not walk away from this word. If you close your ears now, the deceiver will steal the seed from your heart. If you walk away, you will return to your distractions while heaven's trumpet sounds without you. Remain awake. Remain in this fellowship. The storm has only begun, and the next word will be heavier still. I say to you as a father, do not wander. Do not sleep. Do not grow careless. Stay close. Stay watchful. Stay with me. For if you depart, the hour of revelation will arrive, and you will not be found ready. Beloved children, tonight a storm has broken. Some call it scandal, others call it madness. But I tell you, it is prophecy. I resign not from the church, but from fear. I resign not from the flock, but from the silence that suffocates truth. I resign so that the Spirit may breathe freely once again. Now let your faith be seen. Now let your courage be written. Remain, beloved, for the hour is late, and what comes next you must not miss. If this word pierces your heart, declare, Christ is my rock, I will not fear, and remain here, beloved. For to depart now is to let the enemy snatch this seed from your soul. The storm has begun. The Spirit is moving. Stay awake. Stay with me. The Vatican trembles. Rome bleeds. And the scarlet robes murmur. The headlines roar. But above the storm, Christ reigns. Above the wound, Christ heals. Above the fire, Christ purifies. Do not falter. Do not retreat. Do not surrender to despair. The wound is not death, it is prophecy. And prophecy, though it cuts, always ends in resurrection. Remain steadfast, remain faithful, remain awake. The fire has burned, the wound has bled, the storm has shaken. Now the Spirit compels me to speak one last word in this unfolding revelation. The world has seen headlines. The Vatican has heard whispers. The faithful have felt the trembling in their hearts. Yet through it all, the voice of Christ still rises steady, firm, unshaken. Do not mistake the thunder for defeat. Do not call the bleeding death. What you are witnessing is truth breaking chains, light piercing shadows, prophecy demanding to be heard. When I stood on the balcony and declared, "I resign," it was not from the throne of Peter, but from the prison of fear. Now, as this word comes to its close, I say again, I have not resigned from Christ. I have not abandoned you. I have not forsaken the church. I have resigned from silence. Silence is the ally of deception. When lies multiply, silence is consent. When the enemy deceives nations, silence is surrender. The truth must thunder, and if it wounds, let it wound. If it shakes, let it shake, for only the truth that burns away our illusions can save us. Beloved, what truth has pierced you in these days? What word has unsettled your comfort, stirred your soul, broken your chains? Do not let it pass like smoke in the wind. Write it now as witness and offering. Let the truth you have received be the truth you proclaim, so that it will not wither in silence, but grow into fruit for generations to come. The moment the storm of silence descended, I knew that my words had done what they were meant to do. I had stepped forward with a burden I could no longer bear in secret. The silence that had surrounded the Vatican like a shroud, stifling the truth, could no longer be endured. Beloved, the truth is often the thing that will shake the foundations of all that we hold dear. Yet in that shaking, we find not destruction, but purification. When I uttered the words, "I resign," they were not just words of a pope stepping down from a throne. They were words of liberation, words that shook the very heavens and called forth the storm. I was not just resigning from the papacy. I was resigning from the false sense of security that had bound us all in a comfortable sleep, a sleep that kept us from seeing the lies, the compromises, and the corruption within the walls of the very church we vowed to protect. I saw it in the faces of the cardinals as I stood on that balcony. Their eyes, once filled with reverence and unity, now held fear and suspicion. They whispered, as if the truth I spoke could never be accepted. I heard them murmur among themselves, "He has betrayed us. He has brought us to ruin." But I tell you now, my dear children, it is not betrayal that I have committed. It is obedience to the Spirit. And it is in this obedience that I have found the true voice of Christ, the voice that has been hidden beneath layers of tradition, of fear, of man-made rules. Yes, beloved, fear is a powerful force. It is a force that has held us captive for far too long. Fear makes us retreat from the truth. It makes us seek safety in silence, in complacency, in empty rituals that give us the illusion of holiness. But holiness is not found in silence. Holiness is found in the truth that pierces the darkness. It is found in the courage to stand firm in the face of the storm, knowing that God is with us. In the hours that followed, the square before me was filled with confusion and grief. Some of you wept. Others shouted in anger. Yet, in the midst of the chaos, I saw something else. I saw the flame of faith still burning. It flickered in the eyes of those who stood with me, those who understood that the shaking was not a sign of defeat, but of renewal. I heard your prayers whispered in the rain, your rosaries lifted high, and I knew that though the storm was fierce, it was not the end. It was only the beginning of something new, something holy, something that could not be stopped by the powers of man. The world will call it madness. They will call it the fall of the church. But I tell you, beloved, it is the rise of the kingdom of God. Do you not see, children, that the shaking has come to shake the foundations of what is false? It is not a shaking that seeks to destroy. It is a shaking that seeks to separate the false from the true, the transient from the eternal. Do not fear, for in the end, it is only that which is built on Christ that will remain. In the days that followed, the whispers grew louder. Journalists and pundits from all corners of the world wrote their frantic headlines. The Pope has abandoned his flock. The Church is in crisis. The papacy is broken. Yet, beloved, I tell you again, this is not collapse. It is revelation. It is the uncovering of truth that has been hidden for far too long. And now, beloved, as I look upon you, I ask you, what is shaking in your own life? Is it your faith, your home, your family? What is it that is trembling within you? Do not hide it in silence. Do not pretend that everything is well when your soul is in turmoil. Write it down. Declare it in the open, so that others may see and pray with you. For when you confess what shakes within you, you also declare that which cannot be shaken, the rock of Christ. Let your testimony be seen. Let it rise above the storm. For the storm is not the end. The storm is a birth pang, and from it will come something greater than you can imagine. As I stood there on the balcony, I knew the storm had only just begun. The fear in the faces of my brothers, the whispers of betrayal, the cries of the faithful, all of it was part of the divine process. The shaking was not an accident. It was God's hand at work, separating the pure from the impure, the faithful from the fearful. And so I ask you now, beloved, where do you stand? Do you stand with those who are afraid of the shaking, who seek to hide from the storm? Or do you stand with Christ, whose voice calls to us from the midst of the tempest? Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid. The storm is here. It is shaking the world, shaking our homes, our faith, and our very hearts. But it is not meant to destroy us. It is meant to awaken us. And so I speak again. Do not fear the shaking. Do not fear the storm. For in the end, it is not the storm that will remain, but the truth of Christ. His kingdom is unshakable. His word is eternal. And those who stand with him will never be moved. As the storm continued to rage in Rome, the world seemed to hold its breath. The headlines flashed across every screen. The Pope resigns the Church in crisis. The whispers of doubt and confusion echoed throughout the halls of the Vatican. But, beloved, I tell you this. What the world calls a crisis is the very moment when the truth breaks free. The truth that has been buried beneath layers of tradition, fear, and man-made institutions is now rising to the surface. And that truth, beloved, is what will endure. I could hear the murmurs of my brothers behind me, their voices trembling in fear, yet there was something deeper at work. It wasn't just fear, it was a recognition that something was shifting, a recognition that the foundations of the church, as they had known it, were no longer solid. And that, beloved, is not something to fear. That is the work of God. For when God begins to shake his house, it is not to destroy it, but to purify it. I have walked this path for many years. I have seen the darkness that has crept into the heart of the church, the compromises that have been made in the name of tradition, the silence that has been kept for fear of scandal. But now the time has come for the truth to be spoken. The time has come for the lies to be exposed, for the falsehoods to be shaken loose. And beloved, that is what I did when I stepped forward and declared my resignation. It was not an act of weakness. It was an act of courage. It was an act of obedience to the truth that God has called me to speak. I know that many of you are confused. Some of you are angry. Some of you are afraid. But I tell you, do not be afraid. For in this moment of shaking, God is doing a new thing. The church that you have known, the church built on man's traditions and comforts, is being torn down, so that something greater, something purer, can rise in its place. The true church, the one founded on Christ, will remain. And that church, beloved, is what you are called to be a part of. The storm is not just in Rome, it is in your lives as well. The fear, the doubt, the uncertainty that you feel in your hearts, in your homes, in your families, these are the very same storms that are sweeping through the world. And just as the storm has come to shake the church, it has come to shake you as well. But do not fear, beloved, for in the shaking, God is purifying you. He is separating the things that cannot stand from those that will endure. Do not retreat from the storm. Do not hide from the shaking. For when the storm comes, it is not a sign of defeat, it is a sign of divine victory. It is a sign that God is at work, that He is doing something in your life, in your family, in your church that is far greater than you can see. It is in the midst of the storm that God does His most powerful work. It is in the fire that He refines us, making us stronger, purer, and more faithful. I know that many of you are struggling right now. You are facing fears and doubts, uncertainties, and challenges that seem insurmountable. But I tell you, beloved, do not let those fears overcome you. Do not let them define you. For you are not called to live in fear, but in faith. And faith, beloved, is not something that is born in moments of comfort. It is born in the midst of the storm, when everything else around you is shaking, and all you have left is the firm foundation of Christ beneath your feet. I ask you now, beloved, what are you afraid of? What is shaking in your life right now? Is it your home, your family, your faith? Do not let those fears remain hidden in the darkness. Write them down. Declare them. For when you name the things that shake you, you also declare the truth that cannot be shaken, the truth of Christ. He is your rock. He is your foundation. And no storm, no shaking, no fear can ever move Him. As I stood there on that balcony, I saw your tears, I heard your cries, but I also saw your faith. Even in the midst of your confusion, I saw your prayers. I saw you reaching out to God, asking for His mercy, asking for His guidance. And I knew then that the shaking, though painful, was not in vain, for it was in that very moment that faith began to rise. So, beloved, I urge you, do not fear the shaking, do not fear the storm, for the storm is not your end, it is your beginning. It is the beginning of something new, something greater, something eternal. And if you stand firm in faith, if you remain steadfast in the truth of Christ, you will see the glory that comes after the storm. You will see the fruit that comes from the fire. I say to you now, children of God, stay with me, stay awake. Do not let the deceiver steal this moment from you. Do not let him distract you with the trivial things of this world. Do not let him convince you that the storm is a sign of defeat. The storm is a sign of God's victory. And those who stand firm, those who remain in the truth, will see the glory that follows. I bless you now, beloved children. May your hearts be unshaken. May your faith remain strong, even as the world trembles. And may you in this moment declare that Christ is your rock and you will not be shaken.